Welcome back to Early Action with Mossing and Patel. Today we're going to break down this Houston Texans and Tennessee Titans overtime game from yesterday. Tennessee ends up winning 42-36. What were your takeaways, Mossing? I know you had the Titans on the spread in this game, as did I. How did you feel, especially when they're down by 7 there with only a few minutes left to go in the ball game?
There is never a doubt that they were going to cover.
Yeah,
I had full confidence in them the whole game.
down by 7 with 2 minutes left, never a doubt. Okay.
Yeah, when they were up one and the Texans had the ball, I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah. And then we saw Mike Vrabel pull out something that we've seen Bill Belichick do in the past. Something he probably learned underneath Bill Belichick when he was there as a player and as coach. But also we saw Vrabel do it to the Patriots last year in the playoffs. If those of you guys who remember, I think it was during a punt, and he alternated between doing a false start and a delay of game, which resets the game clock when you're still, I think it's under 5 minutes, but when you're still outside the 2 minute warning, the clock keeps going. And he was able to, I think, take off like 2.5, 3 minutes in that playoff game.
And the penalty has to be declined as well.
Yep, exactly. And in this game, it was 2nd and 1. He knew that the Texans were probably going to convert either on that down or the next, and if not, they might even stay for a 4th down and do a QB sneak. So regardless, he knew that first down was secure for them, and he knew that was going to be another play at least, which means another 30 to 40 seconds. So what he does is he puts in, I think it was number 36, into the ball game.
46.
46, much of the confusion of the guys on the defense, and Vrabel is just kind of looking on nonchalantly. They call out for having a 12-man in the huddle or on the field. I can't remember which one it was exactly. Regardless, what it does is guarantees the Texans get 5 free yards in the first down, and more importantly, the clock stops. It was essentially just a free timeout, and then Tennessee had the additional 3 they had in that half. Really smart play by Vrabel, saved them 30 to 40 seconds that they needed to use score on offense because they only scored with 4 seconds left, so they really needed that time. The commentators during the game, I don't think understood what was going on. They called it like a unforced error or something like that, but
Right.
you can't really blame them. It was pretty subtle thing that I think only hardcore Madden players and Mike Vrabel and Bill Belichick know about. So that was kudos to Mike Vrabel on that. He's really known as a defensive coach and very like players coach, and he doesn't really get the credit he deserves for the more strategic things he knows about the game and the rule book there. But other than that, what did you see? Tennessee was up big early, and I thought I was going to coast to an easy dub on the spread there with Tennessee. Wasn't really paying attention to it. All of a sudden, Texans come storming back behind Deshaun Watson, a newly emerged Braden Cooks. What are your main takeaways from the Houston side of things in this ballgame?
So my main takeaway from the Houston offense is this is what we expected them to be. When we came into the year watching Deshaun Watson, we expected this offense to have the ability to go down the field and score a bunch of points. We hadn't seen that as much under Bill O'Brien.
No.
So I don't know if the coaches changed or what exactly is sitting here, but I think the offense looks significantly better, and I also think that the wide receivers were creating more space.
Yeah,
So
and it's not just that. I think entering this year we thought that they would miss DeAndre Hopkins for sure, but I think we all kind of expected that just meant the targets would be spread out a little bit more. We thought Brandon Cooks would have a season he's had in the past with New England and the Saints and whatnot, and the Rams as of lately. We thought Will Fuller, if he was going to be healthy up until, week 6, I think we all thought he was going to be a breakout star. He hasn't necessarily been that, but he's definitely has had, I think, 2 or 3 major games, including yesterday. He had a big touchdown there for them. So I think we expected this going to the year, but we also expected the Houston Texans to really struggle, given that they were going to have a tough schedule and no DeAndre Hopkins and a very incompetent coach in Bill O'Brien. One thing I did want to ask you, what were your thoughts when Romeo Crennel opted to go for 2 there when they were up 7 with just a few minutes left? Essentially putting the game on ice. They almost did convert there. They had Brandon Cooks wide open in the middle of the field. Deshaun Watson's ball just gets tipped, and they aren't able to convert, which leads to the door being open there for the Tennessee Titans to take.
I like the aggressive play call personally because either you're going to force them to go down and get 2 to win or go all the way down and kick a field goal. So they got to score there. And then even if they do score and get a field goal, you still got a 50-50 shot at getting the ball back in overtime. So
Yeah.
I think you take the chance. You're probably not going to lose in regulation unless they convert a 2-point conversion and drive the ball all the way down. I like just trying to ice the game. If any time during the game you have the opportunity to ice it, I like to take that opportunity, especially when it leaves you in a position where you're not in a very, very vulnerable spot to lose the game.
Yeah, so here's the way I like thinking about it. So let's pretend that an extra point is 100%. And we all know it's not, especially when they moved it back, and especially with Gostkowski, who I think missed 2 in week 1, and he's missed another one in week 3, I believe. So it's not even 100%, but let's pretend it is. So you have a 100% chance of making it an 8-point game, right? So there's that one alternative that might happen. So you're up by 8, and that's 100%, assuming the extra point. Okay, now let's assume a 50% chance that you get the 2-point conversion, and then the game's over, right? So 50%, you're up 9, and then automatic W. So that's a 50% chance overall that you're going to win that game. Now you take that 100% that's an 8-point game, which the Texans did not do yesterday, and now you're Tennessee, you're driving the ball, and you score a touchdown, right? So the touchdown probability in a case like that is usually about like 35%. So you take the 35%, and then you take a 50% chance that they get the 2-point conversion. Now the chance of that happening altogether is around 16% in a vacuum. So for a lot of people watching this game, especially when they get hindsight, they're like, well, you either take a 50% chance to automatically ice the game, or you take your chance and you roll the dice that Tennessee isn't able to do what they just did. So while, a lot of the sports nerds like myself might like opting out and going for that 2-point conversion, the numbers actually surprisingly say in that case that you should kick the extra point and just hope for the best. But the thing with that is, and something I think Romeo Cornell does know, is that not every team has a back like Derrick Henry that can pretty much guarantee to score the ball from the 2-yard line on a 2-point conversion. So I think he was thinking that, and I think he was also thinking that he's in a place in his career right now. He's 76 years old. He's the oldest coach in the NFL. He's not going to get this head coaching job after this year anyway, okay? So this is like his only time to really roll the dice and say, F it, I'm just going to play it like I want to play it. I'm going to call this aggressive play call, and I'm trying to win this game. We're 1-4. We have nothing to lose, really, so why not go after it? So I think that's kind of what happened there. I think a lot of points in this game and this season have shown teams being aggressive, going for it on these 2-point conversions, going for it on 4th downs, and it's kind of backfired so far this year in terms of just the actual outcome. And I think that might dissuade some coaches from being more aggressive in the future, even though the math and the strategy there tells you should be more aggressive. Just the bad luck and the coincidence so far, I think coaches might be a little bit hesitant to be aggressive going forward. What do you think?
So if I broke it down in a vacuum similar to you, we'll call it going for 2 a 50-50%.
Yes.
So you have a 50% chance of winning the game right there. So that gives you 50% odds.
Right.
And then if you miss all the way down,
yep,
and they might make it. But if you win that coin toss in overtime, the way your offense is clicking,
yeah,
you're going to win the game. So that's another 50% chance.
Yep.
So you're giving yourself a lot of 50% chances to win that game.
Yep, I agree.
If you give yourself enough 50% chances to win the game, eventually one's going to fall. Because the odds of losing 3 50-50s in a row,
yeah,
are 12.5%.
Right. Yeah, now I'm with you there. And the other case we see this come up a lot is when a team is down by 14 points and they score that first touchdown, and it's a matter of like, okay, so what do they do now? Do they go for 2 or do they just kick a 1? Conventionally, it's always been kick the 1. Now you're down by 7. Now it's time to play defense, try to get the ball back, whatever. But the way I've seen it broken down is similar to what I just did in the Texans Titans case. Let's say you're down 14, right? You score a touchdown. Now you're down by 8 points? Now you're down by 8, and you're going for 2. Let's say you get it. Now you're down by 6. Your next touchdown wins you the game. Right? So that's case 1.
It increases your win percentage
right.
Instead of extending the game.
Exactly. Case 2, you don't get it. And now you score a touchdown again. Now you do need the 2-point conversion in order to go to overtime. Great. Now you're at like a 50-50 on both chances. Chances are that on one of those 2-point conversions, you're going to get one of them. But what other people want to do is they want to score a touchdown, be down 7, score another touchdown. Now it's overtime. Well, now if you don't win the coin toss, or if you don't get the ball first, or you get unlucky in overtime, you still lose. So instead of trying to extend the game, teams should be more actively trying to win the game. In which case, going for 2 in a case like that is critical, and it's kind of what Romy Cornell did. Even though the math, like, it's mostly a wash when I do the math over here. It's just kind of being a coach in the moment, knowing that there's a good chance you're not stopping Tennessee. Because while the chance in a vacuum, like I pointed out, is 35% for Tennessee to go down there, march down the field and score a touchdown, in a high-scoring game like this, it wasn't really 35%. It was probably a little bit higher, especially because Tennessee has a good offense. They're led by a good quarterback, and the Texans' defense is very tough, especially in the secondary, and it's very roughed up. There's a lot of injuries there, and there's not a lot of talent there to begin with. So I think we're at a crucial point of this analytics in sports and in football, because a lot of these football coaches are old school, so they don't really understand, I think, a lot of these concepts. I think this year is a big one in terms of coaches experimenting with it, and I think it's going to be pretty big going forward on how like the results go and how it impacts wins and losses.
I also think it's very important to realize what the underlying assumptions here are for each team. Because everybody kind of looks at a two-point conversion as a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
But some teams are just designed to be better at going for two-point conversions.
Exactly.
Let's say one team has a 60% chance or another team has a 40%. So I think as these analytics continue to come out, each team's going to find their true two-point percentage success rate, and then that's going to also alter the effect. Look at Doug Peterson for the Eagles. He goes for two all the time. The Eagles' two-point percentage, I have no idea what it's been this year, but just because they practice it so much, I would guess that it'd be higher than league average. So maybe we'll start going for two-point conversions every time, unless it's in a situation where it's very obvious to kick the extra point. So that could be an ideological shift, but you never know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. It's going to be really interesting to monitor that this season going forward. Teams are definitely being more aggressive. I think I saw the Falcons go for it on fourth and short like 3 or 4 times yesterday, and they were winning by like 20-something points. So I think that definitely is the future. Analytics will definitely drive aggression in the future. I think teams have saw the Ravens and what they've been able to do the past couple of years and the success they've had, and I think it's a copycat league, and I think that aggression will continue, but I think it'll be even more closely monitored, and the talking heads on ESPN and FS1 will have a lot more discussions on what exactly is the best thing to do in a given situation.
Just a quick note on the Falcons. We don't need to go into the game, but they learn from their previous losses. They know they have to keep the foot on the pedal. I think that's what they did differently in the game. Also, by continuing to score, you're not allowing any momentum to come back on the other side. You can't devalue how important momentum is in these games.
This game, and I think, and that game is kind of just a microcosm of that philosophical change in the mindset of the NFL and these coaches. Like, all the people I think are driving the league now, the young coaches, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, et cetera, and then even the elder coaches who are very well respected right now, like, Andy Reid and John Harbaugh. The thing they all have in common is their aggression. They're aggressive on offense, they're aggressive on defense, they're aggressive on special teams, and I think that's going to end up being the difference in these ball games coming up. Do you have any other closing thoughts on this Tennessee Titans team? They're undefeated. I think a lot of people, including myself, like I said, didn't expect too much out of them this year, but they're going to be one of the contenders in the NFL, looks like, this year.
I think Tennessee's the real deal. The only thing I see holding them back is playing so many games so close together. So we'll see if they'll be able to hold up. They're a very physical team, which leads to being beat up more. And if you're physical every single game and they get close together, I don't know if that's a recipe for success long term, but I like their odds.
All right, I'm with you there.